besties, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyan and this is Kyan is Booked, and today I'm introducing a new reading vlog, and this is going to be a reading vlog where I finished 3 books that are just sitting on my Kindle unfinished, ready for me to discover the ending. I have 3 of them listed right here. I have more, but I wanted to kind of start small in this reading vlog and see, like, did it help motivate me to read? Did I just not care even more than I did before? Being a mood reader is a really funny situation to be in, because sometimes I find myself really wanting to finish books and like really wanting to finish series and just not feeling like doing it. So this is almost kind of like an experiment to see if in some way, shape, or form it kind of like helps motivate me to read. So I want to go ahead and do the introduction. Let's talk about the 3 books that we will be finishing in this one, and then kind of give you an idea of like any tropes that are associated with, like what kind of thoughts I have on them so far, and then I'll randomly pick one and finish it, and then I'll come back and discuss like my final thoughts with you guys. So the first book really shouldn't come as any surprise. I haven't been super vocal about it, but Iron Flame has been sitting at 89% finished on my Kindle since the week it released. I feel like I'm not alone in the fact that I was very, very hyped up and like so excited when I finished Fourth Wing. And then I read Iron Flame and kind of just wondered what happened to the series that I was like so excited about to read, right? So we have Violet and Xaden at the end, like literally where we ended in Fourth Wing, now in Iron Flame. Kind of having to figure their way through the drama that I don't want to say just Xaden created in Iron Flame, and also too, like, I am going to spoil things right here because I can't talk about this book without spoiling kind of what's happened or like what happened at the end of Fourth Wing. So I'll put like a spoilers thing down here. So if you don't want to watch it, totally fine. I won't judge you. But if you actually don't care, then like whatever. But I just want everybody to be aware. So we all know that Xaden straight up lied there at the end of the book. He didn't tell her that he was still working for the rebellion, and then he wasn't honest about the fact that like, hey, by the way, your brother's not actually dead and he's kind of in charge of the rebellion right now. So we see, is it Brennan? Oh my gosh, why is his name not listed right here? I'm pretty sure it's Brennan, because Brendan is, no, it's Brennan. So Brennan's the one who heals her at the end of Fourth Wing. So we come into this book, and I think the reason why I haven't finished it is, number one, like I kind of have a feeling about what's going to happen. And I feel like Xaden's going to sacrifice himself to save her. And it's just going to make me mad because it's totally within his character to do that. Like, I'm not mad at the fact that he's gonna do that because he does love her and he does care for her and he does want to be honest with her, but he struggles with his allegiance towards the rebellion and what he can and can't say, right? The biggest issue is like, I feel like when we get into scenarios where the hero sacrifices himself for the heroine, and then there are more books to happen like within the series, then that becomes the excuse as to why like they're not together. And then it becomes about the heroine saving the hero, and we get lost in the plot, and it doesn't necessarily focus on what's happening inside of Basgiath, and it doesn't necessarily focus on what's happening with the Vernon. It doesn't focus on how many lies have been told by the government to their people. And I feel like that is just a storyline that is not getting enough airtime, right? Like, we're not focusing on the fact that, you know, they go to these war games to die. Dane literally sends her there knowing that she's gonna die. They don't end up dying. Now they're back, and now they have to pretend like they're still a part of Basgiath. Like, you know, he leaves, like she stays. They're pretending to be a part of the war that literally Brennan is rebelling against, right? And like their dragons are still mated, so that's a whole situation going on there. There's just so much happening, and I feel like, and I might be the only one in the world who feels like this, but I feel like the publishers were like, hey, we've really got to get this book out, la la la. And like, while Rebecca talks about the fact that she is very proud of Iron Flame, and I'm sure she is, like, it's a book and it's been published, I think that there could have been more to the plot here than Violet being mad at Xaden for keeping a secret that he had to keep, because he didn't know which side of the war she was on, right? And it wasn't until push came to shove and the secret had to come out and Brennan had to reveal himself that Violet even really made a decision. And I still don't even really think she made a decision. I think it was kind of forced upon her, and she's so smart, so intelligent. And I love that Xaden loves that about her. But I was just so tired of them having the same fight over and over and over and over again. They just fought, and it was the same fight, and it was like the only thing that was moving the plot along. And this book is long. This book is in paperback format. I'm sorry, in hardback format. It is 623 pages, right? So it was a really long book to have them having the same fight over and over again. And let's be clear, I've been in plenty of relationships where I've had the same argument over and over again. So is it realistic? For sure. Do I want to read it in my fiction stories? I absolutely do not. Another big thing that I have with this one is I can kind of see that where this is going. And I want to be clear, I haven't read any spoiler posts. I really haven't even had any conversations with my friends because like this is definitely a hyped book that I read that was just such a letdown. Like I was so disappointed in this book, and I wanted more from it, and it's not giving that. Do you know what's giving? It's giving the fact that like we're at an academy, right? There's a hero and a heroine that desperately want to be together, but the war's keeping them apart. The hero sacrifices himself for the heroine, and that's where the book ends. And do you know what series that is in, ladies and gentlemen? It's in Vampire Academy, okay? It's in Vampire Academy, and I swear, if Rebecca Yarros's Vampire Academy is at the end of this book, I can't promise I'm not going to throw my first edition. Not that it really matters because the edges aren't even sprayed, which is going back to my whole publication theory, because I got kind of distracted there for a second. I feel like the publishers wanted to cash in on the hype, right? Because we were all so excited. And I feel like the publishers wanted to cash in on the hype. And while Rebecca Yarros will go to her grave saying that she's proud of this book, and she should be, like 621, 22, I don't know, was I say 623? 623 pages in a hardback format. You should be proud of that. But I feel like she would probably have wanted to edit it more. She probably would have wanted to do a couple of other things, but the publishers were like, hey, like we can make money off of this if people are excited. Let's get that first edition out there, which is why the edges aren't sprayed, because they wanted to get it out faster to us, right? Let's keep the hype going. And what I can say to that publisher is Sarah J. Maas has never lost hype, not even after she published Tower of Dawn for Throne of Glass. She hasn't lost hype, and she literally releases a book a year, maybe a year and a half. So I feel like had she had more time, I feel like this would have been different. And like I said, I still have like 11% to read, so I could be totally wrong, but those are my predictions. Those are my thoughts. Yeah. So Iron Flame's the first book we're going to read. Let me set this over here. I have my handy dandy notes. Next up, we're going to be reading Unraveling Him by Kara Kingsley. So this is book 3, the Bailey Brothers series, and this follows Evan. He's the grumpy, like, lone wolf of the Bailey Brothers. And then Fiona, she had some kind of things happen, like, with her family in the beginning of the book. And so, like, she's kind of, like, she's not on the run. Like, she's just running away from her life, essentially, because things just aren't going the way that she wants them to go, and she feels like she needs like a reboot and a refresh, right? He's grumpy, she's sunshine. He restores like limited edition, like old school cars, like vintage cars, and she has this like really amazing connection of being able to find people who are willing to sell their cars. So that's kind of how she gets him to let her stay at his like body shop, like, but his home's like behind it, because her car breaks down and it gets towed there, and he fixes it, and then they get into conversation. She's like, oh wait, like I can help you with that. I think she's gonna get caught between Luke and Evan. So Luke is from the rival family, and so the Bailey brothers, and I can't remember what Luke's family's name is, but they both restore vintage cars. There's like this competition coming up really soon, and I just have a really bad feeling that she's gonna get caught in the rivalry, caught between the two of them, and Evan's just gonna make a really dumb decision and hurt her feelings. I'm at the point, so 50% in, Evan's kind of given into his attraction, and things are kind of up and down right now because he's not necessarily sure how to feel. other than like obviously like wildly attracted to our heroine. So I'll be picking up at the 50% mark in Unraveling Him, which is Fiona and Evan's story. The final one I'm going to read for this vlog is going to be Blind Pass by Tegan Hunter. So this is Rhodes and Ryan's story. So Rhodes plays hockey. He's scarred. He's super grumpy. And he's Colin from Puck Shy, which is the first book in the series, teammate. And then Ryan is like sunshine, happiness, everything that Rhodes isn't. And then she's Harper's bestie, and Harper and Colin are getting married in Vegas, which is how the two of them find themselves in Vegas, and how the two of them find themselves drinking a little too much, getting married, waking up the next day and realizing that they announced it on social media platforms. So where they could have just been like, oh, never mind, and like annulled the marriage, now because there's been an announcement, like his team knows, like who she works for knows, and they're kind of like, okay, so like, let's ride this out for a year. We can divorce like amicably at the end. They need each other in this scenario. So I'm about 23% into this book. They are still in Vegas, if I remember correctly. So we haven't even gotten back to like the real world with their relationship yet. But I am really excited to read this one because I know a lot of people don't like the Married in Vegas trope, but there's just something about it. I love people who could be impulsive in that way. I couldn't. My logical side of my brain could never, but I love people who are able to be impulsive like that. And I'm really excited to see what convinces Rose and Ryan that like they shouldn't divorce. Like what in this book is going to be the deciding factor of like why they stay together. So those are the 3 books we're going to be reading. I will come back when I've finished one to update you guys on like my final thoughts and feelings of it. I don't know which one to pick up first. I know everyone's like, you should pick the one up that you're furthest in, but like, I just don't know if I'm ready to be mad at Iron Flame yet. I'm not sure. So I'll see you when I see you. I finished Iron Flame. Finally. I don't know how many months later I did it. But here we are. I don't have, okay. Let's start here. Number 1, I'm giving it 3 stars, mostly just because my biggest pet peeve with this story overall is the fact that they fought literally all the time about the same thing, and Violet just kept being mad at Xaden for the same thing, and eventually, like, I wanted it to move on to something more. Did it move on to something more? Absolutely. That ending, those couple ending chapters when they get back to Basgiath and the battle and the inevitable storyline with Vi and Xaden, that's what I loved about Fourth Wing, like those moments right there. So the fact that we got back to that in the end really redeemed it for me. But you can't take away the fact that we spent like 200-300 pages just arguing about the same thing. Okay, so I'm done banging on that. I'm going to move on to the fact that like I loved the ending battle scenes. Those were absolutely my favorite. It really did remind me of just that the ending battle in Fourth Wing, but this one was like on a grander scale, you know, like so many people were involved. People really started to like respect and listen to Violet, and she stood up for herself in a moment with her mom, and I loved that for her. So that part I'm not mad at, you know what I mean? And even with and I'm gonna add a spoiler tag here, even though I've probably already spoiled it to this point, but I'm still gonna be respectful. The death of her mom hit me really hard. And I think it was because when it was just how, like, you know, she grabbed Sloane and then forced her to do it, and Sloane didn't want to do it because she knew what she was doing, and Violet was trying to get to her and Brennan was trying to get to her, but both of them had like maxed themselves out so much in the battle that they didn't have anything left. And just to have her be like, you know, that end line, and I can't remember it like word for word right now, but like, you guys were everything we wanted you to be. Like you were everything you wanted us to be, like all 3 of you. And you start the next chapter with her saying like, you know, my love, if I ever fall in battle, it will be for our children. I'm not, it's like something about like her being a general and she doesn't dream of dying in battle, but if she does, it's going to be for her children. And it just like, reminds me of something of like my mom would say about like, you know, like she doesn't like consider herself to be like a very violent person, but like for her kids, she would do anything. And it really humanized somebody that I had hated for so long. And like, you know, we were meant to hate her, obviously, because like of how she treated Violet and all that kind of stuff. But also too, at the same time, we really did like grow to have like, not a level of respect for her, but like we understood where she was coming from. And especially like, you know, ultimately when it came down to it, like she did what she had to do, right? So I'm glad I finished it. It ended exactly the way I thought it was gonna end. So we definitely got Vampire Academy, but it's different, but it is a Vampire Academy moment. So I'm not like, oh my gosh, sorry, like my seat is, I don't know, whatever, it's fine. So yeah, so we definitely got Vampire Academy, but in a different way. So I'm interested to see like what Onyx Storm is gonna bring. Am I gonna read it? Yes, I'm gonna read it. I don't even want to say like, oh, this one's not better. Like I'm probably going to finish the series out, if not just to like see how it all ends because of like what I've put in so far. But I really do feel like Iron Flame redeemed itself there at the end, but not enough for like the 300 pages I had to be a part of, I think is kind of where I'm coming from. So next up, I think I'm gonna read Unraveling Him, mostly just because I'm in kind of like in the mood for a little grump sunshine situation. And we're still not, like, Evan's always going to be a grump, and I appreciate that about him. So I'm excited to kind of jump back into Evan and Fiona's story. I was going to say it was the longest I had to go. That's why I paused for a second, but it's not, because the other one I'm at like 23%. So this vlog's going really well. Right now, I actually just got back to my house because I've been at Montessori training all day. So I'm a teacher and I am finishing up my certification for upper elementary Montessori. So I've done 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and now I'm doing 9 to 12 because I obviously teach ages 9 to 12. So I'm finishing up my certification for that. And it was just a really long day. My brain's fried. We were finishing math, and math and I have always had like a, I don't even know, like I just hate math. Like, let's be honest. I've never really enjoyed it. So anytime I know that I have to do math, I'm just like, so I'm going to go in. I am about to grab my headphones, change real quick, because I am going to go on a walk. And then I'm gonna get some dinner. So I may or may not listen to Unraveling Him, but I'm also listening to another book right now that I'm like really into. So, oh, it's so tough out here when you're binging series at the same time as trying to finish books. My life is so hard. Anyways, I will catch up with you guys later. I'm gonna go because there's a time frame on how long I'm gonna have the sunshine, and I haven't been outside all day, so I'd really like to get some of that in my life. So I will be back to update you at some point in time about where we are in this little vloggy vlog. So I'll catch you then. Hi guys, we're here to talk about Unraveling Him by Claire Kingsley. So I finished and I rated it 5 stars because I don't know what it is about me recently. Maybe I'm falling for all of the small town stuff just like everybody else. I'm not really sure what's going on. All I know is that I am absolutely obsessed with Evan Bailey. So I don't know how much I talked about in introduction, so just a quick synopsis. He's like the grump of the family, or like the lone wolf as his Graham calls him. And so Fiona like basically like slammed into his life and was like, listen, I am kind of going through it. I'm running for my life, yada, yada, yada. Like, I'm invaluable, like, because he restores old cars and his car part. His mechanic place. Oh my God, what? He's a car mechanic. Anyways, but he specializes in restoring like old school vehicles. So he is attempting to restore a Pontiac, I believe. And Fiona used to work for her dad, who also works with specialty cars, old school cars, vintage cars. And so she has a lot of contacts. So she's like, hey, like, I can help you. I can be your office manager. I can find these things for you, blah, 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 right? So things are going really well. He's starting to come out of his shell. He is like realizing how much he cares for Fiona. Fiona's kind of feeling like they'll say things back, but she's like, am I able to stay? Like, is it safe? Because as we all know, her dad is kind of like stuck into some shady things, right? And I don't want to go into like how it all ends and like how it all comes back together, but I absolutely loved just...
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Does anybody else's watch just like butt into things, or is it me? Anyway, so I don't want to get too much into the story because I kind of want to talk about just like more so like high level things, as I don't want to accidentally give away what happens. The third act breakup is not quite the third act breakup I was expecting. So when it happened, I was like, oh, okay, like that makes sense in how it goes like with this story. Because sometimes like they just break up for the sake of breaking up and it doesn't make sense. But I really understood where Fiona was coming from, but then also where Evan was coming from when he figures out kind of what's going on. Now, obviously this ends in a happily ever after because hello, be so for real right now. But I really liked how both of them like complimented each other. And he's very much the grump and she's so sunshiny. Like, I mean, she names her plants like Ethel, and like they're like old lady plants, and like she crochets with everybody in town and like cross stitches and stuff, and she like slowly starts to infiltrate his life. And I like how he slowly like, he's like, wait, no, like this doesn't bother me, like I actually really love this. So I really liked their dynamic. I like how she kind of came into his life. I like in a sense that she very much completes it in a way he didn't realize it. But also too, I like the fact that she kind of, without even trying, heals his ability to like be close to his brothers and like have relationships with his brothers. Because as somebody like who has siblings and is really close with her family, like I love sibling dynamics in books. Like it doesn't bother me at all. The fact that we get all the brother stories, like these are series that I love because I love close, tight-knit families, because I can relate to that so much. Like I'm very fortunate for my siblings, and you know, my sister just got married and her husband's wonderful. So like just like another brother to add to the group. So like I'm very thankful for series like this, because it just like, just a way they kind of like go back and forth at each other, and you know, like all the pranks they pull on each other, and like those moments where like you want to throttle your siblings, but they're also like the most important people to you and like the people they rely on. It's just so authentic. But I absolutely love how Fee kind of comes in and just like takes over his life, and he's just like, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Oh wait, just kidding, I absolutely love it. So I really love the dynamic. 5 stars for my grumpy hero and his sunshiny lady. I believe Gavin's next, and listen, when I say I'm really excited for Gavin and I'm really excited for him, I kind of already looked at the synopsises for the books coming up, and I will say the last one though, like the Romeo and Juliet-esque vibes, so excited. I was at 50% when I started this book, so very proud of myself for finishing yet another book on my Kindle. And as we all know, next up is gonna be Blind Pass. Yeah, Blind Pass, I believe. And I started out at like 25%, but that one is the Married in Vegas, like enemies to lovers, fake relationship type thing. But I'm really excited because they did a lot of flirting like in the first book. So I think he's kind of trash for her and he just doesn't want to admit it. So I'll be back hopefully tomorrow with an update, because I'm actually actively reading it now and really enjoying it. So I'll be back to let you know how I feel about Rhodes and Ryan. All right, so I am gonna give a little bit of a confession here. This is the second time that I am recording the ending to this vlog. And I wanna be honest, I feel like when I did the first like initial closeout of Blind Pass, I don't really think that my thoughts in that moment were very concise. And so I don't really think I gave enough credit to the book and like what I was trying to say, and now I feel like I have my thoughts a little bit more together. I don't want to go into it. The book isn't like super long. It is, like I explained before, like they got married in Vegas. There's a twist later on that adds to like, there's a twist later on that adds to, I have to cut all this out. There's a twist later on that really adds like the element of like the fake relationship and all of that. But at the point in time when that was happening, like the fake relationship had become something way more to both of them. It just wasn't something that either of them were ready to voice at the time, which I think sometimes is something that the fake dating trope falls into, or the fake marriage or the marriage of convenience trope. Like both of them are so set on like not being hurt that they end up hurting each other because they're not honest about their feelings. So really it just comes down to, and I don't want to say it's a miscommunication because I don't believe it's a miscommunication, because it's not like one person said one thing and one person said the other and they were like, oh, is this what this? No, it really just was like either of them were ready to have that conversation. And like, I respect the fact that neither of them were ready to have the conversation. I just was like super bummed out that they didn't have the conversation before, obviously, like, you know, we had to disrupt the world to force the conversation. But then we wouldn't have the flair and the drama of like the third act and like them finally confessing their love together. And the Rhodes I loved his grand gesture. If I were Ryan though, I would die, because like public displays of strong emotion, I struggle with them because I sometimes feel like I don't respond very well in that situation. But the way that they did it, I think it would be like, I thought it was really sweet and I thought it was so thoughtful. And I was like, okay, like look at him, like pushing past the barrier of his nickname of the Beast and like really letting everybody know how he felt about things, letting everybody know how he felt about her. And so like, I really appreciated his communication. She's gonna jump down. And then she's gonna try and come back on the bed. Anyways, I really appreciated Rhodes, and I really appreciated like when it was time for him to go all in, like he went all in. And I also kind of like the fact that like as the reader, like we know who fell first, for real, for real. And I love that like aha moment for that character, and I'm not gonna say who it was, but I absolutely love that aha moment. But I also really liked, and like something that's really stuck with me, because neither of them, like they got so drunk respectively that neither of them really remembers like why or what the agreement was when they got married in Vegas. But anytime Rhodes talks about it, he always goes, he always talks about like how safe he felt with Ryan and how he didn't feel like he had to play a part or anything like that around her. And I just thought that was so beautiful, and it was such a wonderful way to talk about their relationship and to talk about like, you know, how they came together in a very authentic way before even realizing it, right? Because everyone's like, oh, they just got drunk and like blah blah blah, like went to Vegas, like got married. They didn't even really think it through. And I just like so very much appreciated the fact that like Rhodes just kept coming back to the fact that like he hadn't felt safe like that with anybody before, but like he'd always felt safe with Ryan. And I just, it was just something about that like made me kind of just love the story even more. So I gave it 4 stars. I am pretty excited. I think I'm kind of like getting into the hockey romance mood, so like that's exciting. But I'm really excited to go ahead and like, you know, third book in the series. I don't know whose it is. I haven't even looked at it or anything like that, but I am really excited to continue. So I will be, if we're just gonna like wrap it up here at the end, Onyx Storm, which is the 3rd book in the Empyrean series, comes out in January. I will be reading it. I'm hoping that it is multiple POV. I'm hoping that we get like way more of Xaden's point of view, and I'm also kind of hoping that it's better than Iron Flame so I can go back to loving the series again, because right now I kind of feel like 50-50 on it. The Bailey Brothers series, I believe Gavin's book is next. Really excited about that one. It's a boss's daughter situation. So his fire chief's daughter moves back to town and he shouldn't, but he wants to. So obviously I'm in. I love Claire Kingsley's writing. I'm really like feeling the small town romance. So definitely excited to finish reading the Bailey Brothers. I did give Unraveling Him 5 stars, so hoping to continue that trend. And then Blind Pass obviously is part of the Comet series. Is it Carolina Comets? I believe so. It's a Carolina Comet series. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to finish the series. I'm feeling very hockey romancy. So we'll see where that takes us. But okay, that's the end. I am going to probably make this a series because as I was going through my Kindle, I noticed that I actually have a pretty decent amount of books that like I haven't read. But I've started so many, and I've just like, not abandoned, but I'm like, oh, come back to this one later. And I just haven't come back to it. So I'll probably do I started the books let's finish it episode later on over the summer. But for right now, episode 1 is done. Let's see. Leave a comment. If you're not down for comments, leave a heart hand emoji, because I've been listening to the Torture Poets Department so much and I absolutely love Taylor Swift, so heart hands. And with the heart hands, I will say thank you so much for watching. Please share to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, my book besties, I will see you in the next video. Bye.